And action. Hey everyone, what's up? Pete Gallia here. Thanks for tuning into this video today. Today we're going to be covering some practice pad work, but don't worry, it applies to all musicians, not just drummers. So we're going to be taking a grouping of 3 and using some call to understand larger groupings over it, essentially creating polyrhythms. But before I get into all of that nerdy stuff and start blabbing, let's actually hear what it sounds like. TAKITA, 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 ta, ki, ta, 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 ta. 1, 2, here we go. TAKITA, 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 ta, ki, ta, 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 ta. Alright, so what just happened? So first and foremost, the premise of this exercise, the way this is all built, is using groups of 3 and using some call. Now, if you don't know what call is, it's a system of Indian percussive recitation, and certain syllables refer to certain groupings. So in this case, today we're working with 3. Now, 3 is TAKITA. Okay, TAKITA. Pretty simple. That's the grouping of 3 we're going to use. And the sticking we're going to use today is a 3-note sticking, go figure, right, left, left. So it's nice to play right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left, left. And if you're bothered about the technical side of things, you can play a full stroke on the right hand to get that accent and have it come back up, and play the other 2 notes using a tap stroke. Of course, it's good to study it on the other side, but for the sake of keeping things streamlined, let's just go with this for today. So this concept I kind of came up with while practicing in the park a couple of weeks ago, just for the fun of it. And what we're going to do is apply the TAKITA to this sticking, first and foremost on every note. So that is just the groupings of 3 in its smallest form. So if you had to take that super simply, this is where you would start. TAKITA, 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 etc. By the way, if you're not a drummer and you don't have sticks and a pad, you don't even need them. You can practice all of this just by tapping away on a table, or even on your knees, whatever works for you, you know? I like to kind of present stuff that anyone can practice anywhere. It's a lot of fun, and also removes the excuse of, I couldn't practice because I wasn't at home or whatever. This really is something you can do anywhere. So in its simplest form, applying the TAKITA to the 3-note sticking is pretty simple. Fits. Like a glove! So moving forward from here, what we're going to do is we're going to keep the sticking exactly the same the whole way through today, and we're going to apply different spacing to what we are reciting. So this time, as we just mentioned, the TAKITA was on every note. Now we're going to do it every second note, starting on the first one, of course, but we're going to skip one every time. So this is kind of groupings of 2 within the shape of 3. So if we do that really slowly, we're going to get ta, ki, ta, 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 ta, ki, ta. Now if I remove these 2 tap strokes on the left hand, we get ta, ki, ta, 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 ta, which gives you a 2/3. Last week I posted quite a long video breaking down some polyrhythms and using the kashaka shakers, also known as asalato. And this week we're dealing with these kind of rhythmic ideas, polyrhythmic ideas, in a different lens. To me, this almost feels like working backwards into a polyrhythm. So using groupings can be really helpful depending on your style of learning. Now let's put 1 and 2 together. So we've got TAKITA, 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 ta. If we move to groupings of 3, it's pretty simple because the sticking is in 3. So we just end up with this. Ta, ki, ta, ta, ki, ta. So it's just like 3 groups of triplets, 9/8 if you want to call it that, whatever. Ta, ki, ta, ta. That one's pretty straightforward. Okay, we're gonna move on to 4 now. So what happens is ta, ki, ta, ta, ki, ta, ta, ki, ta, ta, ki, ta, ta. Okay, at this point it starts to get a little bit more into the polyrhythmic vibe, and maybe from here and also the next step, that's where it starts to get a little bit more challenging. So let me just give you a tip on making this easier. So if you're playing a 3-note sticking and you need to recite a syllable every 4 notes, of course, that's going to give us a 3/4. But if you want to make life just a little bit easier at first, if it's a little bit difficult for you, you can also fill in the gaps. Maybe instead of using TAKITA at first, you could even just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Eventually phase out the 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And where you're ending up saying the 1, just replace, instead of saying 1, 1, 1, say TAKITA, and you end up with this. Ta, ki, ta, ta, ki, ta, ta. Another way to do it could be, you could just calculate, alright, cool, 3-note sticking, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, so the next syllable falls on the first tap stroke of the second group of 3, and you can work through it kind of like that. Personally, I do sometimes use this idea, but generally I find what I learn is going to be 10 times more reliable if it comes from my ear and, you know, from my connection with the sound that I'm making, rather than intellectualizing it and trying to aim for whichever accent or ghost note the syllable should fall on. So it might be helpful to kind of figure things out, but in the long run, I genuinely think it's much more helpful to go with your ears anyways. Finally, just another quick way to look at it before we move on to some others. You could use the grouping of 4 rather than saying 1, 2, 3, 4 like I just explained a moment ago. You could use the konakol variation of that, which in this case 4 syllables would be takadimi. So in that case, you would count a grouping of 4 over the grouping of 3, and you get this from TAKITA, TAKITA, TAKITA to takadimi, 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 takadimi. And in the very same way, you take out everything except the ta, and you end up with ta, 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 and replace the ta, ta, ta with TAKITA. And you're golden. You should be good to go with that one. Alright, moving on. Now we get into some more mind-boggling stuff. So this can be really fun. Next, we're gonna look at using groupings of 5 with the voice over the 3. Okay? So this is actually gonna give us a 3 over 5 polyrhythm, because in the time it takes for us to have 5 beats here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we are gonna say TAKITA, which is 3 in the space of that 5, and they land back nice and cleanly on the 1. So let me play it for you real quick. Ta, ki, ta, 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 ta. So there's your backwards polyrhythm in there also, as we mentioned just a moment ago. So if we were to apply the concept of a grouping of 5 over the grouping of 4. Hey, Pete from the future here. That's my bad. It's 5s over grouping of 3, not 4. And this time I'm gonna stick with the Konakol phrases. You can use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or hippopotamus, or university. As I mentioned in my last video, whatever works, works. But I'm gonna stick to Konakol because it's what I know and it's what works for me. So, once we're in the realm of 5, we're dealing with tadiginatom. Again, tadiginatom. Now for 5, you can also use a combination of 2 and 3, such as TAKITA or TAKITA. But personally, I just like tadiginatom, so we're gonna go with tadiginatom. So, let's take that grouping of 3 again. We're gonna apply tadiginatom over it, remove the diginatom to give us our polyrhythm, and then place in the TAKITA nice and tidily once more. Okay, let's do it. And I like to count the quarter notes in my heart before I actually get started. So if I'm dealing with 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because remember, groupings of 5 are going to fit into a pulse of 5. Just makes sense. So we're going to apply tadiginatom. Here we go. 3, 4, 5. Tadiginatom, 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 ta. Now the next step is to remove all the notes that are on the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th partials of the grouping to outline our polyrhythm, and it gives us this. And tadiginatom, 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 Bam! I don't know why I just did that, but it's okay, it's done. So there you have your 5s over the grouping of 3. Now, really quick, 6, super easy. It's just 2 groups of 3. Here we go. Ta, ki, ta, ta, ki, ta, ta, ki, ta, ta, ki, ta. Fits nice and tidily, 3 and 6, obviously. So from here, we move on to one which is a little bit more challenging, which is 7. So in terms of Konakol, again, there are a number of ways you can count 7, but we're going to keep it simple and we're going to count takadimi takita. So that's a group of 4 and a group of 3 put together to make 7. So you can first start by practicing just reciting the 7. Taka dimmi takita, taka dimmi takita, taka dimmi takita, taka dimmi takita. Once you're comfortable with that, let's apply it over the groupings of 3. 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Taka dimmi takita, 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 taka taka ta ki ta ta ki ta ta ki ta ta ki ta ta. And last but not least, today we're gonna deal with 8. Obviously you can keep going, depends how much you love doing this stuff and how much time on your hands you've got, but for today let's just deal with 8. So the groupings of 8 feels very similar to the 4, but it's just twice the length. So in this case, I would probably use taka dimmi taka juno over the groupings of 3 to give me the 8 over the 3. Right? Yes. So 1, 2, here we go. Taka dimmi taka juno, 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 ta. And once again, once we remove all the ones in between, it's gonna sound a little bit like this. Ta ki ta 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 ta. So there are some exercises that you can use to work with groupings and listening and the stickings and all of that. And that should keep you busy for a while. Now what you can do once you have those a little bit more on lock is put them after each other and go up in subdivision and then down again. Maybe take the 3 and the 5, do them back to back. Maybe the 4 and the 7, do those back to back. Just some ideas. You could even just take one and shed it, get comfortable with it. You're gonna get something out of it anyway. If you haven't done this kind of thing before, I'm pretty sure it's gonna help inform your sense of rhythm and groupings in some way. So thanks so much for checking out this video today. I hope you learned something. And let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm starting to post a little bit more frequently now, so I'd love to hear from you what you like, what really works in these videos, what maybe I could improve on. And similar to the content presented to you in today's video, I can also go through all of this using 5s and using 7s. So that could make for a couple more interesting videos. So is that something you would like to see? Are you interested in it? Please let me know. Put a comment. I really want to hear from you and deliver stuff to you that you're interested in and that you're going to find engaging. Alright, thanks so much for checking out the video. I hope you enjoyed it and that you learned something. I will see you hopefully in next week's video. Have a good day and take care. Cheers.